Alright, so the official reveal for Mortal Kombat 1 hit yesterday with this really beautiful and violent CG trailer. Unfortunately, we didn't really get too much in the way of what the gameplay is going to be like other than Kameo fighter stuff, which this is what this video is about. The characters look fantastic. Shang Tsung in particular, man, that's one handsome looking dude. He's got me questioning some certain life choices over here. But today I wanted to speak purely on Kameo fighters because this idea is really intriguing to me. And if Kameo fighters work the way we all think they're going to work, I think this could open up the door to have a huge roster of guest characters that weren't previously possible in the MK universe. So if any of that sounds exciting to you, feel free to click the like button. And if you're new here and you want to stick around for some gaming info, you can subscribe as well. Now, getting to this Kameo fighter stuff. So we got that press release from NetherRealm. We got some FAQs, and they talked a little bit about the Kameo fighters on that splash page. And based on what we're kind of all putting together, the Kameo fighters are essentially going to be assist characters, meaning you pick your main character that you want to use in battle, i.e. like a Liu Kang, and then as your Kameo fighter, your assist, a separate character, you could pick someone like, I don't know, maybe Johnny Cage. And then you go into battle, you fight one-on-one, you call in your Kameo fighter as your assist, and they can come in, do some moves here and there, and then they bounce. They're out. Now, if that's how Kameo fighters are going to work, I think that opens the door to have a lot of really cool guest characters in the game. Because if Kameo fighters just show up to do some damage and then they leave, and they can't be hit by any fatalities or mutilated in any way, that opens the door for so many new characters. And I say that because historically, IP holders are incredibly protective over their IPs and their characters. For example, Mortal Kombat versus DC. That game had to be rated T for teen because DC didn't want their characters being mutilated or doing the fatalities. Batman ripping out someone's eyeballs and then shoving them into their mouth is just kind of weird. So stuff like that is maybe the reason why we'll never get a proper Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. Ryu uppercutting someone's head off with a dragon punch just might feel kind of jarring. But if you can tell the IP holder, hey, this character, they're gonna be in Mortal Kombat, but you don't have to worry about them being destroyed and hit with a fatality. They're just gonna show up, do some attacks here and there, and then they're out. I think that would make IP holders much more comfortable with the idea of putting in their own unique guest characters. And I say that because of a leak that we unfortunately got this morning in regards to the MK1 roster. Now, I won't go fully in depth with this roster leak. It's pretty massive. It pretty much gives away the entire first combat pack character in regards to the main characters and their Kameo fighters. So I don't want to spoil that for anyone. I accidentally saw it myself this morning, but I do have to talk about one character in particular that was mentioned in that leak. So if you don't want to know any spoilers, you can skip ahead. I'll use the chapter function in this video. You can skip to the next chapter so you can avoid any spoilers. But based on these leaks, which came out from Amazon Italy, it looks like Johnny Cage will actually be a Kameo fighter. Now, this can kind of go both ways. If we look at the FAQ section of the Mortal Kombat website, they mention that there's going to be a Jean-Claude Van Damme skin for Johnny Cage. Now, it's unknown if JCVD is going to be voicing the character as well, or if they're just going to use his likeness. But this kind of lends credence to the fact that more guest characters could show up if they're not mutilated, because apparently Johnny Cage, the JCVD version, is going to be a Kameo character, and I don't think Jean-Claude Van Damme would be cool with being in a Mortal Kombat game where he's going to get his face ripped off and his butt ripped open. You know, it's just kind of weird. So it lends credence to the idea that Johnny Cage being strictly a Kameo fighter with a JCVD skin means that we could get more characters in here that are unique because you don't gotta worry about them being mutilated. And of course, it is possible that Kameo fighters can also double as regular fighters, which if that is the case, then my whole theory just got hit with a fatality. But it's fun to speculate either way. Which leads me to kind of dreamcast my own roster of Kameo fighters that I would love to see in Mortal Kombat. And the first one is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, Ed Boon has mentioned over the years that they've tried over and over again to get Buffy into a Mortal Kombat game, but unfortunately it just never works out. And I think, like I've been saying, that's because they're protective of the Buffy IP. And if I'm not mistaken, Buffy is still owned by Warner Brothers. So NetherRealm is a Warner Brothers company. It would just make sense to have someone like Buffy in the game now because she can be a Kameo fighter. Have her show up, maybe use a rocket launcher, use some of her Slayer weapons, do a really cool combo, and then she's out. You don't gotta worry about her having her head ripped off and then shoved into her torso, because that would just be awkward. And I love Buffy. I don't want to see her get destroyed like that. That's just weird. I want to see her kick some ass. I don't want to see her get fatality'd. It's just weird. I grew up with that character. I have fond memories of her, so I don't want to see her get wrecked. Another really cool cameo character that would be awesome, shout outs to Machine Gun Nick on Twitter for bringing this up, I don't even know why I didn't think of it myself, would be the Guyver. I'm a big fan of the Guyver. The first movie, not very good. Some of the anime I've seen is pretty dope, pretty crazy violent too, but for me, my Guyver experience is Guyver Dark Hero, which is the second Guyver movie starring David Hayter, Solid Snake himself as the Guyver. And if you have not seen that movie, holy shit, you are missing out. That movie was so ahead of its time when it came to really awesome fight choreography. The Guyver suit looks awesome, the Zoonoid monsters look cool, but the Guyver is an inherently violent character. And yeah, he could be a cameo fighter, but he would make way more sense as a main character that you can select on the roster and actually use in battle. So that one would be really cool. But if we're just talking strictly cameo characters, people like Neo from The Matrix could now show up. Maybe even a John Wick character. I don't think you would have Shaggy from Scooby-Doo popping up in a Mortal Kombat game. But the whole idea here is that now that cameo fighters are a thing, and again, if they work the way we think they work as purely just assists, then that really does open the door to have a bunch of characters who previously you wouldn't think would be in a Mortal Kombat game now show up. And then of course, somewhere down the line, they can continue making deals to have characters like horror villains in the game, like Ghostface. Ghostface is more popular than ever now with the Scream franchise being revitalized. So having a character like Ghostface show up would be cool. Having the proper Robert Englund Freddy Krueger show up would be dope. Having an accurate looking Jason Voorhees would be nice, because as cool as MKX is, I hated the way Jason looked in that game. He just didn't look like Jason Voorhees. He just kind of looked like generic hockey mask man, and it was kind of a disappointment. That's pretty much the video. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of this cameo fighter stuff in MK1? Do you think it's going to work like the assist characters did in MVC1, where you pick your main character, you pick your assist, they show up, do some cool stuff, and then they're out? Or do you think that cameo fighters are still going to be playable like the main roster of characters? Also, let me know what characters you want to see show up in MK1, whether they be main roster fighters or cameo fighters. Dreamcast in the comments down below to your heart's content. I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.